In every shadow lies a story untold, and in every silence hides a secret waiting to be revealed. Step closer as we uncover the truth behind the unsolved. Welcome to Cold Mysteries, where silence turns into stories.
Number 4. The Hinterkaifeck Massacre. Who would have guessed that a scenic, quiet German state in Bavaria would be home to one of the grisly and most mysterious murders to happen in German history? Sitting an hour away from Munich is Kopf. This small Bavarian village was home to plenty of farmsteads, including that of the Grubers. While the Grubers were controversial, their story started when their longtime maid abruptly left her job. She was terrified and confessed to hearing footsteps and strange voices around the house. 6 months after the maid left, bizarre things started to happen at the Gruber residence. One day in March, Andreas was surveying his farmland when he saw footsteps in the snow coming from the forest and heading straight to his property. No footsteps led back out. That night there were sounds from the attic, but he found no one there. The next morning, when he awoke, a mysterious newspaper not belonging to the family was sitting on the front porch. On top of that, a set of keys disappeared on March 30th, never to be seen again. Despite the strange occurrences, the Grubers welcomed the arrival of their new maid, Maria Bombarder, on March 31st, 1922. Days passed and the Grubers had not been seen in town, so by April 4th, several townsfolk decided to check on the family. They approached the barn and found the bloody corpses of Andreas, his wife Gisela, their daughter Victoria, and Victoria's daughter, Gisela, who was just 7 years old. They were stacked on top of each other and covered. Inside the home they found little Joseph in his bassinet. He had a blow to his face with the top part of the bassinet broken. Next, they headed to the maid's room. Maria had been killed with a crosswise blow to her head on the first day of her job. So who violently murdered the Grubers and why? No one knows for sure, and as investigators tried to piece things together, what they found made the case even more puzzling. They concluded the Grubers were murdered on Friday, March 31st. The neighbors said they didn't think anything was wrong, since smoke had been seen coming from the house chimney over the weekend. Further investigation showed food was eaten and prepared, and that a bed was even slept in. The livestock and cattle were well fed, and even the dog was secured and healthy. In fact, none of the animals were harmed. The investigators arrived at a chilling conclusion. Apparently, whoever killed and murdered the family stayed behind to eat their food and sleep in their bed. As the Grubers' cold, lifeless bodies lay nearby, who do you think did it? A spurn lover, a wayward vagabond, or maybe a ghost? All of these have been offered as possible explanations. Over 100 suspects were questioned, but no one was charged or arrested for the crime. The mystery of the Hinterkaifeck remains to this day, the only remembrance left of the farm and the family that died there. 94 years ago is a small shrine near the property. Number 3. The Tammenschott case from the cold, quiet farmland in Bavaria. We moved to the sunny beach of Somerton in Adelaide, Australia, on December 1st, 1948. Here we encounter a mysterious dead man on the beach, well dressed in a fine suit with the labels torn out. His only possessions were a comb, some gum, a half-smoked cigarette in his pocket, an unused rail and bus ticket, and a small piece of paper torn from a book with the words Tammen Shudder, Persian word meaning finished. The words were taken from a rare 12th century book, the Revet of Omar Khayyam. Days later, a local man came forward and handed the correct copy to the police. He said he found the book in the back seat of his car. The same 2 words, Tam and Shud were cut out. A phone number was scribbled in small letters at the back, and unusual letters were penciled in as well. The latter, people believe, was a code. The phone number led investigators to the door of a 27-year-old woman who lived 5 minutes away from where the man was found. Back then, she was dubbed only as Justine, but later on she was identified as Jessica Thompson. When first questioned, Justine denied knowing the man. She also seemed evasive, telling police she was married when in fact she wasn't. Despite speculation, investigators dropped her as a possible link. Perhaps the most tantalizing part of the story is the 5 lines of code scribbled at the back of the book. The codes fueled speculation of the Somerton man serving as a spy. To this day, no one has been able to decipher the seemingly random letters. So who was the Somerton man? Was he a spy, Justine's lover, or a random stranger? We may never know. A renewed interest in the case spearheaded by Derek Abbott still seeks to find answers. Available DNA tests can be carried out, but the South Australian Attorney General, after citing lack of public interest, denied the motion for the exhumation of the body. Number 2. The Soda Children Mystery. Our next case didn't have just one victim, there were 5 of them, all under the age of 15. It was Christmas Eve, 1945. George and Jenny Soda were preparing to go to bed. They had just celebrated Christmas Eve with 9 out of their 10 children. Their eldest son Joe was serving in the army. George, followed by his sons John 23 and George Jr. 16, went to bed. The rest of the children, Morris 14, Martha 12, Louis 10, Jenny 8 and Betty 6, begged Jenny to let them play a little longer. She relented, then took their youngest daughter, Sylvia 3, and headed upstairs to sleep. Past midnight, the phone rang. Jenny answered, and a woman asked to speak to someone Jenny didn't know. She told the woman she had the wrong number. The woman just laughed before putting down the receiver, dismissing it as a prank. Jenny then realized the lights were still on and the doors unlocked, but she reasoned the kids might have forgotten. She did it herself and went back to bed. As she was drifting to sleep, she heard a loud thump followed by a rolling sound on the roof. Soon after, she could smell smoke. The fire happened at 1:30 a.m. Jenny shook George awake and ran to the hallway. The fire had engulfed George's office and most of the hallway. They shouted for everyone to get out of the house quickly. Once outside, the only children present were Mary Ann, Sylvia, George Jr., and John. They realized the 5 who had stayed up late were nowhere to be found. George tried everything he could to get back inside, but all his efforts were in vain. Despite being just 10 minutes away from the Sodder home, the firemen and authorities would not reach it until 8 a.m. by then. The fire had completely razed the house and consumed it. Initially proclaimed a result of faulty wiring, George and Jenny Soda wanted answers. They wanted to know once and for all if their children were dead or alive. Clues pointing to the possibility of the children being alive included the fact that no human remains were found on the site. Small vertebrae were discovered later on, but these were untouched by fire and were believed not to belong to the children. Soon, baffling information started trickling in. A bus driver described seeing fireballs on the roof of the Sodder house on the night of the fire. Could this be the thump Jenny heard? A Molotov cocktail, perhaps. A waitress also said she served 5 children breakfast on Christmas morning, but could not recall the number of adults with them. Further mystery was added in 1968, 20 years after the incident, when the Sodders again publicized their plea for the missing children. A photo addressed to Jenny Soda arrived in the mail shortly after. It was a picture of a young man with a prominent nose and thick eyebrows. On the back, it had the words, Louis Soda. I love Brother Frankie, L Boys, a 901 108 32 or 35. A private detective was hired to look into it, but he never returned to this day. No one knows what happened to the Soda children. Some pointed to George's coal trucking business as a reason the mafia largely controlled the coal industry at that time, and he might have crossed them. There was also George Soda's questionable past. Though a well-regarded citizen, he was originally from Italy and moved to the US at the age of 13. He always kept quiet about his past. It was also not lost on crime experts that the number 901,132 used to be the postal code for Sicily. So many questions remain unanswered, and to this day the Soda children, whether alive or dead, are still missing. Number 1. The Dyatlov Pass incident. There were no missing persons in the next incident, and there were no questions about whether the people in Dyatlov Pass died or not, because they did. But what makes this event so captivating, so mysterious, and so terrifying is the manner of how these 9 expert hikers died. The morning of January 1959, Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old UP radio engineering student, expert skier and hiker, led a group of 8 people into the heart of the Ural Mountains. Their goal was to reach Mount Orteton before starting on the final leg. One of the original members, Yuri Yudin, suffered a horrible attack of rheumatism. He decided to turn back and bid the group goodbye. The remaining 9 hikers proceeded to their destination. Hiking for only a few hours, they missed a crucial pass. Instead of heading back down to the forest where they would find better shelter, they decided to camp out on elevation 1709, called by the native Mansi people as Kholat Sayakol, or the Mountain of the Dead. That same night, shortly after dinner between 6 o'clock and 7 p.m., something happened. Someone or something scared the hikers enough that they rushed out of the tent, slashing it from the inside, running in the pitch-black night into a snowstorm and the cold with little protection. The rescue team would find 8 sets of tracks from the tent, 2 of which led down to a forest area. Following the tracks close to a pine tree, they found the bodies of Doroshenko and Krivonishenko. It seemed they had climbed the tree, reaching as high as 15 feet maybe, out of fear of whatever it was that they saw or was chasing them. About 900 feet away, Dyatlov's body was found. One hand clung to a small birch branch, while the other was eternally frozen, as if protecting his head from an assailant. Another body, that of Rustam Slobodin, was also close by. He was face down in the snow and had a deep fracture in his skull, but his official death was ruled as hypothermia. Zina Kolmogorov's body was found furthest from the group. The other 4 bodies would not be found until months later, buried under 4 meters of snow close to a ravine and stream. All 4 suffered brutal internal damage, including several shattered ribs. Unlike their companions, they seemed to have suffered much more. What's intriguing is that there were no signs of soft tissue damage or bruising. The doctor who examined the bodies would later say the rib and chest injuries were equal to the effect of a car crash. Perhaps the most shocking was the body of Ludmila Dubanin. Her tongue was missing, seemingly ripped out of her mouth. Her eyes and a portion of her lips were missing as well. Her nose cartilage was flattened and broken, and she was lacking her left temporal area. This was on top of multiple rib fractures, missing teeth, and a broken jaw. What's most alarming is that about 100 grams of coagulated blood was found inside her stomachs, suggesting her heart was still beating when her tongue and oral muscles were removed. That night in the Ural Mountains will continue to remain a mystery. Some speculate violent Mansi warriors attacked the hikers for trespassing. Others believe it was aliens. Incidentally, another group, hiking 32 miles from the area on the same night, reported seeing strange orange spheres. For an entire month and a half after the incident, multiple credible witnesses also saw these strange lights. Even the leader of the Dyatlov investigation believed this theory. There was also the mysterious 33rd frame in the camera carried by Yuri Krivonishenko that night. It seems to show him capturing a bright fiery glow in motion against a pitch-black sky. So what do you think it was? The Dyatlov Pass continues to fascinate, haunt, and leave plenty of people scratching their heads. So there were 4 of the craziest, most unexplained mysteries we've come across. Whether you're drawn to these events out of curiosity or fascination, it's important to remember these people existed, or once existed. In our quest for answers and entertainment, we sometimes blur the lines. Let's not do that. Let's not forget these people had families, friends, and were loved. Just like you, let us know what you think of these mysteries in the comments below. And if you want more scary mysteries each week, remember to subscribe to our channel, Cold Mysteries. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.